Alright, so welcome to Unity. This is how to basically learn how to program a little bit. So I'm going to kind of teach you how to program on top of teach you Unity, the game engine. So one of the things that we're going to be looking at is a transform on an object. Something very simple, very small that you could play around with at first to kind of get antiquated towards programming. Okay. So to start out with, we're going to start with a brand new scene. This is Unity 5. We're not going to we're not going to make a huge walkthrough around Paris or anything, something very complex like that. We're just going to make a simple cube. Simple 3D cube. And this is in game view, and here's scene view. Okay? So in scene view, we can move our camera up and down, and you can see that that puts our cube right smack in the middle. I don't like this skybox, so what I'm going to do is click on the camera, and I'm going to knock out skybox to a solid color. Perfect. Also, let's zoom in on the box a little bit by moving the camera in onto the box. Okay, let's go back to game view. So our mission is to move the box, rotate it based upon code. So let's go to cube. So we're going to add a new component, a new script, and the new script is going to be called transform. I'm going to capital T on it. It doesn't. You'll see why I'm doing capital transform. We're going to do C# and add and create. Notice it won't let me. Okay, so there's something already named transform for me. And I'm going to call this transform rotate. There we go. So underscore, I kind of put those into place. It's kind of old hat as far as my programming background. I know not to put character returns into things. Even when I name stuff like cube, let's say I named this cube blue, I wouldn't put a space there. I would put cube underscore blue. Alright, so click on the little gear and let's go to edit script. And this pops up. So this is C#. And one of the things I would probably recommend is learning C# before you even get into Java, before you even get into Python. It's a very universal language. I want to say it's not more complex than the others. It's just a good ground foundation to learn. And then getting into other things certainly will pay off. This one works on public classes and functions a little bit more than the others, and it's that by having that underneath your belt, it's a little easier to learn the other ones because they don't rely so much on those things. Okay, so learn the harder one first is what I'm trying to say. It's not easy, it's just good protocol to learn the harder one first. Okay, so that being said, we want to rotate this cube. So how do we do that? Well, that's what we want to do, rotate. So type in rotate and hit control and then single quote. I'm going to show you how to reference stuff. So what happens, it pops up the internet and it pops up everything there is to do with scripting in Unity, and it's got transform rotate. Let's go into that. Bunch of stuff. And what I want to do is not just go to the rotate feature, but I want to show you transform itself. So under transform we have variables, and then we have public functions, inherited members, and public functions, and static functions, and operators. Okay, so a lot there you could learn. But let's go to public functions, okay? Get a hang of a couple of these. here's rotate. So they give you a little bit of a snippet of a code. My programming instructor way back years ago used to call this snarfing. So snarfing is taking the code from one thing and applying it somewhere else and seeing how it works. So now you have inherited that term snarf. No doubt from the little red guy from He-Man, I think, if I remember right. So I'm going to copy this code. And notice it is void update. And this is a vector3 write. Okay, let's look at that over here before I explain what it is. So here's your void update, and I'm going to paste that little bit of snippet of code here. So this is what it's going to do is it's going to transform, rotate vector3 write. Vector3 write, what's that mean? Well, for vector3 write, it'll start spinning, not right. Let's play it and find out. Let's go file, save. And sure enough, it is rotating, but it is rotating ever so slowly. You can see it? It's starting to rotate. But it's rotating up. Well, you can think of this sort of like this. If you stuck a toothpick in the side of these cubes, and I wanted to rotate it right, I would be essentially sticking the toothpick into the right hand side and rotating it. Okay? But if it's stuck in the right hand side, what happens? It can't rotate. It'll only rotate based upon the center of the toothpick. So sticking pretend it's a piece of cheese, you're sticking a toothpick in it onto the right hand side, it'll rotate up and down. So left would be down, right would be up. So that's vector3. Confused yet? Okay, what if we wanted to truly make it go left? Where would we have to stick the toothpick? We would have to stick it in the top, right? Think about it. Let's try that. So would we have to declare it up? And sure enough, it's rotating to the left-hand side. Cool. It's still really slow, and for these tutorials, I would say we want to make it a little bit faster than that. We need a float, public float. Let's look at what that is. So what we're going to do is put something over here that we can type into to declare speed. Right now it's based upon delta time, which is how many units we want to move it. Not based upon frames per second, but how many true units that we want to do rotate it. Right now it's 1 unit per frame. Okay. So what we want to do is take this and put this in here, a public float speed. Let's see what happens here. First off, it doesn't happen right away. What you have to do is off-click it and click back on cube, and you'll see now that you have a new space that you can type in speed. I'll type in 100 here. Okay, then let's go back. And where are we going to use this? Well, I like delta time. I'm going to keep delta time because it's very accurate. I'm just saying you're too slow. So times speed. Save it and play it. And there we go. It's rotating left. Now, what about the other rotate? There's kind of 2 rotates here. There's one down here too. Let's go like this. Let's copy this. Let's replace it right here. I'm going to have to put speed inside here. I do believe. I don't use this rotation very often. I like the other one a little bit better. So let's save this. Okay, so sure enough, the first one is rotating it up. Okay, and speed's not affected. So let's go back. Again, don't use this one very often, sorry. So what we're going to do is go like this, times speed, put it in a bracket, and put this in another bracket like that. Try that out. Then we're going to leave the bracket off. And leave this bracket off. But you see what I'm doing? I'm just kind of hammering at different thoughts until I get something that works. So all compare errors fixed before entering play mode. So it doesn't like that at all. Not even close to being right. And we know that it's the speed that's doing it. So what if I did this? So right there demonstrates that, like I didn't know that because I hadn't used it for a very long time, but it's not impossible to learn. It's just you got to have faith to kind of put the code in different, kind of like a different way until it works. Okay? So that's where students get really hung up. I mean, I've seen students beat their head against the computer for 12 hours straight just because they won't move code around very quickly. They get like it's going to break or something. Okay? You can't break it. It's code. Not like a glass vase. So we could see that moved it there for time delta time, but again we want to move it left. So let's put 0 here, and then we're going to paste this over here. And Control Z will make it so you can go back. Control C, Control V. So these are X, Y, and Z. Again, if I was to stick a fork or a toothpick into the cheese at the top, would I not stick it through Y? Now in Maya or any other programs, I would say I would stick it in Z. But this is a Y up program. So when you have a Y up program, you gotta stick it in Y. If you have a Z up program, you gotta stick it in Z. Most game engines are Y up, and which is kind of odd that most editors are Z up, depending upon which one you use. So what I would do is sit around and play just a little bit with the idea of challenge yourself. Say, I want to rotate it left, then right, then up and then down. And play around with the code a little bit, trying to figure out how you would do that. How would you do left or right now based upon this? Could you? Or could you only do that based upon the other? Not this, but this. So I'll let you try to figure that out. Alright, when you're done, meet me in the next video.